Yeah, it's on. Brenda, it's on. It's on. We got Sam back, but we lost Jeremy. Jeremy, are you ready?
We're getting stuff ready, so we just another.
Oh, okay.
Do that again. Joe's gonna start, or your start then, Joe.
I'm gonna start. I'm gonna go to Joe, then you, then me, then you. So you can, the way, so I'm just gonna say hello.
All right. All right.
Does that sound good to you? You don't have to write.
No, I just point if I'm wrong. After Joe, I go.
After Joe.
Oh, after you.
Yeah, let me write it down for you.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Good morning, and thank you for being here for another fire and recovery update. It's been just over 2 weeks since that terrible fire tore through our community, and I'm sure many of you have read the stories of the incredible events that have taken place. And the more we learn about what's transpired, the more that we see the people of Marion County sticking together and putting themselves on the lines for their neighbors like never before. And I'm just incredibly grateful for the selfless service that so many people have given to our community. To start off this morning, I want to ask Sheriff Joe Cass to give us a safety and security update.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To start with, the current evacuation levels haven't changed since yesterday. Level 3 is Detroit, Idana, Brightonbush, North Fork Road, east of Pioneer Road. That's the closed area still. We're obviously working to try to get those moved further and further in as much as we can. Up-to-date evacuation maps can be found at the Marion County website. There's a banner across the top of the Marion County website to find that information. We've been working a lot with Public Works, with Brian and his crew at Public Works, and then ODOT to try to get roads opened up into any of these areas. The fire, obviously still a concern. This morning we got information that the fire is 46% contained. It's on their information, their website, the fire team's website. And we're still looking at a lot of other hazards in that area. The wind event that is supposed to hit today is a serious risk for the trees in the area. A lot of those trees have been damaged and destroyed. Brian will probably talk some more about those risks and the roadway conditions and the road risks that we're still dealing with. We need to mitigate a lot of those before we can open up further into the North Fork corridor and up the canyon, up Highway 22. I know that ODOT has cleared a lot of trees on Highway 22. That was what allowed us to get back into Mill City and Gates. And the further they go, we'll get closer and closer to Detroit and Idana as well. We don't have specific timelines. Again, this weather event today is going to play into those timelines and how much work can be done today and tomorrow to get the cleanup from just the weather event itself too. So aside from that, I have some photos that were posted on social media last night that I was just looking at again, and it really does show significant damage up the North Fork Road in the trees, and the fire damage up there has had a significant impact on egress and ingress into those areas. So that's kind of where we're at right now. We still have patrols up in those areas, and we're doing everything we can to work with Public Works and ODOT to get further and further into the closed areas as quickly as possible so that we can get people back in to see their areas, their homes.
Thank you, Sheriff. And thank you to your deputies who have done so much over the last 2 weeks to help people and get them back into our homes. We're incredibly grateful for your service. As of last Saturday, we still had 413 people staying in hotel rooms throughout the Willamette Valley. We expect this number to continue to decline as people are able to move back into their homes. Just before this meeting, I received a damage assessment from the Oregon State Fire Marshal's Office. Approximately 1,230 properties with structures were in the fire zone. Approximately 1,060 residential properties were located within the fire zone, and approximately 650 properties were destroyed or experienced major damage. We're down to 163 animals being housed at our state fairgrounds, and we still need volunteers who have livestock experience to help tend those animals. We've closed our resource center, our community resource center at the fairgrounds as people are moving back to the canyon, and in partnership with Santiam Hospital, that's been moved up to Gates, closer to returning evacuees. So the new location is the Gates Community Church, located at 40070 Gates School Road. There's also a resource center at Anthony Hall in Sublimity, located at 11758 Sublimity Road, and that's courtesy of the Knights of Columbus. So we're grateful to both Gates Community Church and the Knights of Columbus for their support. People can still sign up for disaster relief with FEMA, and that's at disasterassistance.gov. If you or someone you know has been affected by the fire and hasn't yet signed up, please encourage them to do so. Finally, as the sheriff mentioned, with people moving back into the canyon, we're in discussions with the state and FEMA about beginning the process of rebuilding. And one of our first concerns in cleanup is cleanup, and that's something that Commissioner Brentano knows quite a lot about.
I used to think I did, but there's a lot of just plans being developed. I first say following that, people coming back to their homes, I want a website we have for tips, safety tips. It's co.marion.or.us/fire. But as I was saying, plans are being developed. It's going to take a little bit. It looks like a process that's been done in other areas of the country who face similar disasters. If it goes to plan, there'll be almost a two-stage part. First, where EPA comes in, will remove hazardous materials, and then sounds like the Corps of Engineers actually do the debris removal. If you can read into that, we're planning kind of one big effort, then all sorts of scattered ones. Not sure on that, but that's the way it looked. I wanted to take just a second. I'm worried about people wanting to just get in, get cleaned up. There are hazards, and look at that website I just gave you about going in, and it looks like just inert ash, but it's not. There's all sorts of contaminants in it, asbestos and petroleum products, perhaps lead. To haul it off somewhere, put it in a truck and think you're going to go, they probably won't let you. You'll have to have a certification that's saying those products that I just described are not there. So I'm just going to ask people to wait. And I will say this, and sorry to sound negative, but illegal dumping won't be tolerated, will be prosecuted. So just have patience. We're going to get a program set up with information on the county websites on how that is. And the only other scary part to me, they ended our conversation yesterday with don't think in terms of days and weeks, think months and years. And I hope it doesn't go that bad, and we'll do everything we can to move it ahead, get things cleaned up, and get life back to normal.
Ryan, did you want to add some details from Public Works when it comes to cleanup?
Yes, I do have a little bit of information to supplement what Commissioner Brentano just said. So we're all receiving inquiries from property owners wanting to get back into their properties, start cleanup and rebuilding. Fire damaged homes, especially older homes, can contain several forms of hazardous material, and property owners need to know there are regulations in place that govern how those materials should be handled. So in addition to the resource that Commissioner Brentano just mentioned, I'll say if you go to any Marion County webpage, the banner that the sheriff just mentioned at the top, on that banner you'll see the words wildfire recovery. Click on that and you'll find a whole wealth of resources, how to get registered with FEMA, how to get some of those recovery services started. One of those is the DEQ website that addresses this very issue what to do when you are first returning to a wildfire-damaged area. That webpage, if you want to go to it directly, is oregon.gov/DEQ/wildfires. But you can also get there directly from our website as well. So there's a number of ways to get there. There's a lot of good information there, and I'm going to hit a couple of the highlights just so people are aware. Counties, all the affected counties are working with the state to develop some sort of uniform process and rules for dealing with wildfire debris. So we're talking to the state about what types of DEQ regulations need to be adjusted temporarily, that sort of thing. All of that is in progress. Those conversations started last week. It's going to take a couple more days before we have real good, solid answers. So we're asking people to have patience until that is all sorted out. First priority will be dealing with household hazardous waste, and the state is dealing with EPA to bring in those resources to help with that. So expect to see guidance posted on that in the next couple of days. Traditional DEQ regulations are in place right now, so asbestos needs to be handled according to asbestos regulations. Those rules have not changed. So if you're a property owner and you're interested in getting in and cleaning up your site, you are definitely going to want to check out that DEQ webpage. It has very good guidance on things to watch out for and how you want to handle that if you're going to do it yourself. The state is, like I said, the state's pursuing help from FEMA and EPA to pay for the cost, or at least help with the cost of debris removal. And people need to know, homeowners need to know, that if they aren't following the rules correctly, it could put them in jeopardy, their eligibility to receive future FEMA benefits in jeopardy when it comes to the debris management. So another word of warning to take a look at that DEQ website and really make sure you understand what it says before you try to handle hazardous material management on your own. Another couple words about safety. So, the mask that we've been wearing for COVID, that's not going to protect individuals from inhaling asbestos fibers, right? Look at the DEQ website. I'm going to say that again and again. Look at the DEQ website, because there are safeguards and guidelines that need to be followed if somebody really is going to protect themselves from those kind of hazards. And it usually involves hiring a contractor that is licensed and trained in dealing with these kind of measures. And one consistent message that we keep hearing from state and federal agencies is because of those exposure threats, children should not be involved in these kind of cleanup measures. It's just, there could be long-term, lifelong health consequences from those kind of exposures. So, one more thing I do want to put out there, Pacific Sanitation is the waste hauler that covers the majority of the canyon. And Carson Kinsey, the general manager of Pacific, asked that we put out his name and phone number for anybody that needs to contact their waste hauler to get some more guidance, because they are a really great resource to help you understand where things stand in terms of what they can do to help property owners under the circumstances. Again, Carson Kinsey, general manager of Pacific Sanitation. His phone number is 503-428-6163. Again, that's 503-428-6131. Did I say 6131? Did I say that?
It
61?
says two different numbers. So why don't you?
I did say two different numbers, didn't I?
Yeah, let's clarify.
Apologize about that. The correct number is 503-428-6131. I think I transcribed some numbers there, sorry.
Thank you. Commissioner Cameron?
Well, I first want to say that the constituents that continue to contact all of us here, my heart goes out to them. Like them, I want to get back to see what remains and what we can do to get back into our homes, especially people in Detroit and Idana who can't get there right now. I do want to give a couple updates that yesterday we did have a meeting with I guess it was Monday, we had a meeting with our clerk, and he gave us information as to how people could get their ballots. So if you can go to his website or call the clerk's office, they can make sure they give you direction to how you get your ballots. If you have difficulty getting your ballot, same process for returning ballots through the mail and the drop sites, but the main issues there is how are these people that are displaced all over the state right now. We have people in Redmond, we have people in our shelter from Lane County, and my dad does Uber. He had to Uber somebody from the Red Cross to a hotel. That guy was from the McKenzie River, and he's up here in Salem. So people are spread out all over the place, and we want to make sure they have an opportunity to participate in the American Dream process, voting. Another update would be Detroit Lake, the boat removal. You're going to hear this gentleman's name over and over and over again. Probably make a statue in Detroit, put it at Mongold State Park for Garrett Olson, Deputy Garrett Olson. Incident Command charged him with the project of getting the boats out that were sitting there the day of the fire. So it had been 2 weeks ago, a little over 2 weeks ago, and he and volunteers and we had deputies. I had to participate in it on Sunday. Actually went up with a friend to help get a boat out, and it was an amazing process that these people put together. There was deputies from Lynn County, Clackamas County on boats. There's probably, I don't know, 6 or 7, 8 sheriff boats out in the water from all different places that came together. We had the Jeep patrol guys. The process was amazing from the standpoint of who you are getting in. They were very technical on who you were getting in. The ribbons they tied to your truck, the labels they put on your truck, and then on the way back in gates, they actually stopped everybody and recorded their names to make sure everybody returned safely and that there was no reason to go back and look for somebody. Amazing process. I was just in awe of how that, and it took 2 days and they got all the boats out. I just got a message from Army Corps here. They want to verify that. We just need to make sure that the docks are pulled back so they don't have those washing up on the dam in the springtime. I want to thank Army Corps for that, for backing off and saying they wouldn't lower the flow out. They did lower the flow from 1,500 to 1,200 cubic feet per second to buy us a few more days. And that was grateful. We met with them yesterday, or day before yesterday, and they are taking a tour, the Brigadier General, to look at some of the recovery, because they will get directions from FEMA if they're asked to do that. There's a lot of people that keep saying, hey, where can I give, where can I give? So there's a place so you can give cash donations. St. Anne Hospital, the St. Anne Canyon Wildfire Relief Fund is taking cash donations. Red Cross is taking cash donations, and United Way Relief. And all those websites, all those can be found on our particular website for links to be able to go and do that. So just the last thing, I just want to let the people that have suffered this great loss know that we're thinking of them and we're praying for them. And I just updated my wallpaper on my Facebook post to this morning, that a picture that Zach Stone, who's a photographer here in town, took from up above, up by Hall's Ridge. You can tell it's up there. And it's a beautiful picture of a tree and all these spring flowers looking down on the lake on a beautiful sunny day with Mount Jefferson in the background. And it's the beauty that we need to continue to look forward to as we restore that canyon and restore a city that was totally wiped off the map.
Thank you, Commissioner. Does anybody else have anything? Sheriff, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I was just going to mention, we're working with ODOT, with Public Works, with the fire teams, and we're trying to get everybody back in. We know the Elkhorn Valley residents want to see what's going on up the North Fork, as well as others up the North Fork, including the Dogwood area where there's a lot of residents, but Idana, Detroit. In the meantime, while those areas are closed, if folks have livestock or animals in those areas, we want to make sure that if you need to get in and feed those, that we try to accomplish that if it's safe. So we have a phone number you can call if you need to get into those areas. That number is 503-798-6823, and that's specific to if you have livestock or animals that need to be cared for inside the closed areas, and then we will see what we can do through the sheriff's office and with collaboration with all those other areas, all those other agencies to see if we can get those animals cared for. We certainly don't want to have animals suffer anymore if we can prevent that. So again, that's 503-798-6823, and that's if you need to get livestock or animals inside those closed areas to get them cared for.
Thank you. Okay, Jeremy?
So before we begin taking questions from the folks that are here with us, we've got a couple questions that were submitted in advance, so we'll start with those. So the first question was from Cor Harlan. I've heard thousands of hazard trees will need to be removed from the fire area. Is that accurate? And what happens to the hazard logs? Are they sold as part of a timber sale?
Ryan, could you take that?
Sure. So the rules will be the same, whether it's ODOT dealing with highway or county dealing with county roads. We will, well, any timber that's removed that's on private property remains the property of the property owner. Those logs will be decked and set aside so property owners can sell those or deal with those however they want to. I think ODOT will even carry those away if a property owner doesn't want to deal with it. We'll do something similar in the county right-of-way and properties along the county right-of-way. We've gotten a lot of inquiries over the last couple of days about wood salvage, and we do have a lot of non-marketable timber along North Fork Road and other roads. So we will probably, in the next week, put together a program that will allow folks to go out there and salvage non-marketable timber for firewood and that sort of thing.
And can you confirm the number of trees? It's in the thousands.
Yeah, and that was ODOT's estimate, and it was anywhere from 10,000 to 80,000 at the start of this. I'm not exactly sure how many remain.
That was the Highway 22 corridor. That wasn't counting North Fork or any of these other areas, so
Yep.
I haven't heard any updates on the numbers.
Yeah, I don't think we're quite up to 10,000, but we're somewhere just south of that number.
Okay. Thank you, Brian.
The next question that was submitted, also by Cor Harlan, was commissioners have talked for a long time the desire to put in a sewer system to replace septic in the canyon. Can federal disaster relief money help pay for a new sewer system?
Commissioner Cameron, do you want to tackle that one?
Sure. Yeah, I think this reporter called me yesterday, wanted to take a tour. I wish, right? The sewer system has been managed by our community, or the sewer district formulation has been managed by our community services, and that was stood up May of this year. So there's a sewer authority up there with the Detroit, Idana, Mill City, Gates. They've come up with their agreements. We had put forth some preliminary engineering that was supposed to be done, I believe, by 2021, July of 2021, and we are doing everything we can right now to expedite that engineering process. And yes, we can use dollars that come through the disaster. It has been done in the past. And if you think about what we need to do up there, we need to rebuild these towns in a sustainable way. I'm not, somebody said we were going to do this slowly, and I think the governor's emergency manager said we're going to do this slowly, deliberately, so it never happens again. That kind of upset me because the towns didn't burn down because of the way they were built. They burned down because of the way we manage our forest. But basically, to build these things back, energy efficiency, have sewer systems, potentially bury the power lines in the towns underneath the ground, that gives you protection. There's a lot of things that we can do, but it's going to cost money, and it's going to take time to do that. So the sewer system is only one piece of that. How do you rebuild these towns in a sustainable way, or protective way, I guess is the way I want to do it, and make them places like, if you think about the sewer system, went in Sisters, and look at Sisters today. And if you could do that in Gates and Mill City and Detroit, Idana, you could have some pretty healthy lives up there for a long time.
I think the bottom line is we can't do it on our own. We need our state and federal partners to really step in, and I think this is the moment where they could really provide help to that community, which historically hasn't gotten the help that I think it deserves. So I think this is a real opportunity for us to come together.
Thank you, Commissioners. So as we take questions from the media here in attendance, what I'd ask is give me an opportunity to repeat the question into the microphone so the folks listening from elsewhere can hear what the question was.
Jeremy, would you pull that closer to you?
Is that a little better? Okay. So, yes, sir.
So I was wondering, just with all these federal and state agencies, what role does the county have specifically? Is it going to be a task force formed, or what is that going to look like?
Okay. So the question is, with so many federal and state agencies involved, what does the county's role look like? And I believe you're talking with regards to recovery?
And can you identify?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah, Jake Thomas, Salem Reporter.
So it's a question from Jake Thomas with the Salem Reporter.
I think that's a complicated question. The county's involved in many different facets of the recovery, from the cleanup operation to salvage to rebuilding. I mean, it's very broad. So I think maybe the best thing to do is to kind of talk about what different working on with federal agencies. And Commissioner Cameron, I think maybe you can talk a little bit about your work.
Yeah, so, well, in fact, I just got a draft notice here that we're with Lynn County, we're going to request, Marion County is going to request the governor to do an executive order to give us final authority on land use decisions as we rebuild. That's a really critical issue. If we could have that, that would help speed up the process and not have a whole bunch of appeals going up. Because you've got properties up there that are, you know, on built on a city border, and the other half of it's, you know, outside the city. It's Wild West. So there's things that we're going to ask the state for, but also the state is the one that's asked FEMA to come in, and then FEMA directs Army Corps. So we're involved with the state from the standpoint of our emergency management operations are at the table. So we can't just go off and do our own thing, but as we move forward and we rebuild, and we have the decision-making authority that we have today, we need to probably broaden that a little bit to expedite and have people be able to rebuild. So we will be involved. To what degree, we're still trying to figure all that out.
It may be a good sorry.
And I think the challenge we have in front of us is, and I think Sam alluded to this, is that we've got people that are up there right now trying to bring in a loader and start scooping up their property, and they want to know where to haul it off. So we've got to get the cleanup phase done and organized, and then go into the building phase as we move forward. Sorry.
Well, and Jake, maybe a good example is the work on Highway 22, to reopen Highway 22 and get people back in there. That involved the National Guard, that involved ODOT, that involved our Sheriff's Department, our Sheriff's Office, that involved our Public Works Department, and they kind of split up the work. So ODOT was really focused on Highway 22 and the trees there. Our folks were really focused on the roads off of Highway 22, like the North Fork Road, and making sure that those roads were safe, because just because ODOT cleared 22 didn't mean that somebody couldn't go off on one of those roads and get hit by a tree. And so we had to make sure that we were coordinating with ODOT to make sure that their work and our work were happening in conjunction with each other so that people were safe. Because your average, they don't care whose jurisdiction it is. They just want to make sure they can get home safely. And so I think that's the sort of thing that we're going to see even with cleanup. We manage waste in Marion County, so and Sam can talk more about this, but FEMA and the state are taking the lead on kind of a broader cleanup plan for fires generally. So I think you're going to see a similar thing where we break up the work and we tackle these big problems, and we each have a piece of the work to do. All right, I think that.
I don't have too much to add. He asked about a task force. I don't see the need for that. I think we have departments that are essentially those groups and organized through the board's office, and then working state, federal, local. I might add FEMA's in our emergency management office right now, kind of getting things started. I forgot to say there will be a declaration, I'm not sure I even told you, that starts the process, a health emergency declaration, and that'll be done, and we'll have a role in that, and then that will help trip the availability of this cleanup I described. So I don't think there'll be task force, but we've worked very seamlessly so far, and I think we will continue to.
Okay. Additional questions? Yes, ma'am.
Is that a major
So the question was from Deborah Gill with KPTV, and she's talking about a conversation they had with a family from the Gates area who experienced theft of their property, which did survive the wildfires, and asking what our general concern is with regards to continued theft or looting in those areas.
Thank you. It's still definitely a concern. We still have patrols working up there. Anecdotally, I know of at least 3 cases where we've had burglaries up there since this started 2.5 weeks ago. I kind of lost track of time. But we've, again, I know of at least 3 cases where we've had that, and we've had 2 arrests based on the same, those same type of issues. So it's still a concern. We're still going to be up there patrolling, and that's going to continue for as long as we need to. We're going to have the enhanced patrols up there.
Second question, immediate concern right now, we talk a lot about with the storm, the possibility of more damage or making it unsafe. Is there a concern of people, like they were talking about wanting to get up to their properties and start their own cleanup, or wanting to get back to their homes to check on it on their own? What's your immediate concern right now, given all of that, that people are going to go there when they shouldn't, and it's still unsafe, or is that not really the people staying away for the most part? Just what's your immediate, as far as your patrols and concern for that?
So to condense the question, the question follow-up from KPTV was, what's our immediate concern with the wind coming in as far as people going into areas they shouldn't, or how to best serve those people?
So again, with our patrols up there, we're watching out for the theft and the burglary and things like that, but the immediate concern with this weather event is just life and safety. And hopefully, the folks up the canyon are very resilient. Many of them are used to wind storms and snowstorms and power being off for a week here and that kind of problem. But this event, with the number of trees, right now that's one of our biggest concerns with the wind. Additionally, there's from the road crews, from Brian's crews, there's concerns about the roads up there, the culverts, whether the road's going to fall out under the culverts. So there's a lot of those type of safety issues. But again, with our patrol staff right now, the immediate concern is the life and safety of what could happen in this wind event, and then we'll continue on from there with information from Public Works and ODOT and Fire and everybody else too.
I'll just make a comment. I know when we were on a planned mission to recover boats, there was a lot of people just onlooking, just driving up there, and we just need to encourage people to stay away if they don't have homes up there. That's a concern, because it puts other people at risk. We don't really have a plan. Yeah, go ahead, Sheriff.
I'd just like to tag on to that. There's 700, I think, firefighters up there. I could be off on the number a little bit. And those roads that they're coming down to that are closed, the fact that they're closed, part of the reason is so that they don't get in harm's way of people driving around up there. And so that's part of the reason, but there's also, I don't even know how many tree fallers are up there. They've cut thousands of trees up there in just a few days, so I'm sure there's a lot of folks falling trees up there too. So part of the closure is to make it safe for everybody that is up there. But with the wind event, and the question that was thrown out was that the ongoing wind event, as long as that's there, these trees, there's some dangerous trees up there, and we've seen it. We've seen them fall on cars. We've seen them come really close to people in search and rescue operations as well. So just want to be really careful with that.
This is no official comment, but when I went up there and talked about it last week, there's really one way into Detroit, and Idana Highway 22, and a large portion of that with a high rock wall that, to me, isn't stable. There's fencing on it that was damaged. We saw rocks in the roadway then, and certainly with a heavy rain that we're going to have, there could be some more instability. So it just makes this next couple of days a little bit more nerve-wracking.
I have some pictures of North Fork Road that I've been looking at again that was put on social media that show, this is just one of the photos. I don't know if you can see those from where you're sitting, but you're welcome to look at these when we're done as well, that shows significant damage just on the North Fork Road. And this is just one road of many, many roads that Brian's crews are trying to get us back into. And some of these impact our ability to get in and out as well, just from the emergency services side. So just, again, when we're done, if you want to see some of these photos, they're sitting right here for us.
Any additional questions?
Melanie Zermer, KMUZ Community Radio. It was, brought up that, of course, we need help from federal and state partners. I've heard that there might be a special session coming up. Is there
So the question was from Melanie Zermer with KMUZ, asking about any intent for a special session to request a funding package related to the wildfires.
Commissioner Cameron.
So we had a joint meeting with Lynn County last week. There's a couple of concepts. The governor is going to call a special session after the election. And there's a couple joint concepts that we have. It wasn't for funding. Obviously, everybody's going to have their hands out and need money here. I think that there will be a statewide package that they'll come up with. But we all know that because of COVID, the state's upside down financially. We've already done the analysis of how this potentially is going to impact not only us, but you think of school districts and all the other fire districts that we collect. You know, when you pay your Marion County tax bill, a small portion of that's ours. But so we're doing that and trying to figure out what we need to do quickly to adjust our budget. But the two concepts, the one are more legislative concepts that we need little fixes for to help us rebuild and to do things differently as we move forward. That's what we're going to ask for. I think Senator Girard has one of those that he's going to file. Property tax relief. Just think about it. You just lost your house, and come November 1st, somewhere around there, you're going to open this green envelope that says, hey, by the way, you owe $3,000 in property taxes, and you're going to look over and go, for what? So we're working on property tax relief for those people impacted in the fire. That's one of them. So that would be a financial ask, but it doesn't really come from the state as much. It does impact the state because they have to backfill school districts and other things. But so that's one of the concepts. And then the other ones are to help build and some special stuff that we need. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly right. And you know, we are working with our state and federal partners on FEMA reimbursement. That's going to be really important for us. So it was really important that the president approved that declaration and approved FEMA reimbursement for us. It's really important the state is helping us qualify for those dollars. If we don't get those dollars, we're in a world of hurt. So I think that really is a focus of ours right now.
Just follow up on that. So to give property owners tax relief, is that going to require a legislative fix or funding from the legislature, or is that something that the county can do?
All right. The follow-up question was from Jake Thomas with Salem Reporter. For the property tax relief, does it require a legislative fix or legislation, or is it something at the county level?
It's a legislative fix. It's Oregon statute. It's a 16% interest. Think about that. If you're late, that's usury, in my opinion. 16% interest and late fees. All that stuff is in the statute, so it has to be taken care of there. If we could do it unilaterally, just as commissioners, we probably would have it on our agenda today and let people know. And the way it's set up, basically, today is if we don't get legislative action, you're going to have to pay your taxes, even though your house is burnt down. And you could pay that in the installment, but or you can pay it all at once and take the 3% discount. Then you have to apply for relief, for a refund, and you have to go through this application process. And what we're trying to do is to head that off and do an emergency declaration to say you don't have to pay it. I think that's what the legislative fix is that we're saying, if you can prove you're impacted by this wildfire.
And the concern is people left with nothing, their house burned, and then we're going to, the statute requires us to send them a bill saying you need to pay this, and if you don't, you're going to have late fees and interest. Well, a lot of the people that ran from that fire don't have that money. So that's why we have to have this fix.
Sorry, just one more question. So it sounds like property tax bills, they come due in November, but it sounds like the special session due after the election. So it sounds like that's going to be a problem, right?
Well,
So the follow-up question was, since the property tax bills come out in November and the special session's not scheduled till after the election, is that going to cause a problem?
so we were working with our assessor. They were just getting ready to sit and getting things printed up, and we're putting some information in your property tax bill, and it basically is going to say, I don't think we have it in front of us, but it's basically going to say, here's what's going on. We are asking for a legislative fix. Stay tuned. Those types of things like So the election's November 3rd. If she can call a special session the next week, we could get that done, and then there's a way to notify people. And the main thing is relief of those people who are basically going to say, I can't pay this, my house is gone, and no way can I pay 16% interest on top of that. So we're just asking, it's a difficult timing, you're right. If we could have them do an emergency session now, it would be the best, so we could have said, hey, you don't have to pay it, but it's kind of a difficult deal, and I think that's what we're trying to get done. And the bill is already sent over, LC draft is being done. And what we sent over to have done, obviously, and I was in the legislature for 9.5 years, what we want to have done and what's going to come out of there, obviously, could be two different things. So we'll be over there testifying along with other counties as well.
Any additional questions? All right. At this point, I think we're probably ready to close out.
Okay. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you so much for being here, getting the word out.